Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're literally deconstructing the invisible machinery that makes our daily lives possible. We're going to start right in your own local neighborhood, looking at the streets and parks you use every single day. And then we're going to zoom all the way out to the massive, intricate web of the global economy. By the time we wrap up, you're going to see the mechanics of our world in a completely new light.
All right, to kick things off, I want you to do a quick exercise with me. Seriously, just take a quick glance out your window right now. What do you see? A paved road, a street lamp, maybe a public park or a municipal bus driving by? Now look down at the tag on your shirt, or even the back of the device you're holding right now. Where was it made? How did all of these things, the road outside and the shirt on your back, actually get there? We are surrounded by these unseen local and global systems that deliver our everyday experiences, and it's time we uncover exactly how they work. So let's dive into Section 1, the local landscape, public versus private. Picture a fire truck racing down your street with its sirens blaring. You benefit from it, you feel safe knowing firefighters are there to help, but who actually pays for that? On one side of the coin, we've got private goods. Think of a delicious slice of pizza or that smartphone in your hand. You pay individually to access them. But on the flip side, we have public goods, like highways, public parks, or police protection. The whole shebang works completely differently here. Once a public good is provided to the community, it's pretty much impossible to exclude anyone from benefiting from it. You can't usually buy a private lane on the highway, but you can absolutely drive on it. Fresh air, national defense, the public library, these are all enjoyed by everyone, collectively. Which brings us to Section 2, the engine of the local, which is, you guessed it, taxes. So if public goods don't have an admission ticket, well, the government has to foot the bills somehow, right? They do this by collecting required payments from people and businesses. If you break down a typical family's income, it's kind of like a pie. When money comes in, it doesn't just all go to buying private goods, what we call spending, and it doesn't purely go into a bank account for saving either. There's a third, absolutely crucial slice, and it's not optional. It flows directly from individuals and families into the government, creating this giant pool of funds that flows right back out to pay for those shared services we literally rely on every day. Instead of setting up, say, a literal toll booth on every sidewalk, the system captures economic activity at different touchpoints to fund these services. First up, we have sales tax, which captures consumption. Whenever you buy something at a store, an extra percentage goes to the government. Then, income tax taps directly into earnings, a portion of the money people generate from working their jobs. And finally, property tax. This is tied to wealth and land value, and honestly, it's the main engine keeping our local schools, libraries, and community services running smoothly. It's absolutely crucial to see the direct cause and effect relationship here. Imagine a town with zero taxes. What happens? Without taxes, we see a city struggling. Infrastructure crumbles, parks get totally neglected, and essential services either vanish completely or become these crazy expensive luxuries only a wealthy few can afford to pay for privately. But with taxes, we get well-maintained roads. We have confidence that clean water is going to flow from the tap, and we have active emergency departments keeping us safe.
But here's the thing. Taxes aren't just some giant passive piggy bank for paving roads. They're actually a highly strategic tool. Governments use them to actively nudge societal behavior. For example, by putting a higher tax on sugary drinks, a government can encourage healthier choices without outright banning anything. Or by taxing pollution, they create a massive financial incentive for companies to run cleaner operations. So taxes build our physical infrastructure, sure, but they also totally shape our behavioral landscape.
All right, moving on to Section 3, the global shift, looking at imports and exports. We've walked the local streets, so let's zoom way out now. Remember that tag on your shirt we talked about earlier? Or the electronics you use every day? You probably see labels reading Made in China, Made in Vietnam, or Made in Mexico all the time. How do those items travel halfway around the spinning globe to end up right in your hands? Well, that inbound flow of the global supply chain is what we call our imports. Think about your morning routine. If you buy a cup of coffee, there's a really high chance those beans came from Brazil, bringing a literal piece of South America right into your local neighborhood. And then, of course, you have the outbound mechanics, our exports. This represents the continuous global loop of goods and services flowing out to other nations. Say a US-based tech company manufactures smartphones and ships them to customers in Japan, or a car assembled in a US factory is driven across the border and sold in Canada. Those are exports. It's just this endless, synchronized rhythm of giving and receiving on a massive scale.
Next up is Section 4, the logic of trade, all about specialization.
So you might be wondering, why do countries trade so heavily with one another instead of just making everything themselves? Well, it all boils down to a super powerful dynamic called specialization. Let's look at country A. Their natural advantage is abundant sunshine and fertile land, making them perfectly suited for producing bananas. Country B, on the other hand, has a high concentration of skilled engineers and high-tech factories, making electronics their strength. If country A tried to build microchips, they'd really struggle. And if country B tried to grow tropical fruit inside their factories, it would be wildly inefficient. By focusing purely on their unique advantages, both countries maximize their output. They trade, and suddenly citizens in both places enjoy vastly better quality and variety than if they had tried to be entirely self-sufficient.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the big picture, focusing on global interdependence. Because countries specialize in trade, we definitely don't live in isolated bubbles anymore. The architecture of global markets means we are deeply, constantly relying on each other as part of a massive interconnected network. It's like a giant puzzle. To truly grasp this, just consider the smartphone. If you map out its origins, it doesn't point to a single nation. The screen might be manufactured in one country, the microchips designed in another and fabricated in a third, the batteries sourced from minerals mined across the globe, and then it's all finally assembled together. That single object in your pocket has crossed multiple international borders, relying on the specialized labor of thousands of people worldwide. It's a real marvel. But we do have to acknowledge the flip side of this global web. Interdependence inherently creates vulnerability. Because we rely on so many different countries to produce a single item, a problem in one specific part of the world ripples out everywhere. If there's a major shipping disruption in one country, or a factory shuts down halfway across the globe, those specific products or components suddenly become incredibly scarce locally. Our shared global market means we share the tremendous efficiencies, for sure, but we also share the systemic risks. So the next time you use a public sidewalk paved by local taxes or pull an item out of your bag that was manufactured across the world, I really want you to appreciate the journey it took. You are a global consumer situated right at the intersection of local governance and international trade. Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder today. Take a real look around you right now. How global is your backpack, or your desk, or your closet? And in a world that relies so heavily on every single link in this massive global chain, what happens to your daily routine if just one link breaks? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope this helped you see the brilliant mechanics of our world economy in a whole new way.